welcome to the last meeting of the year, 12/19/19, for the City of Brentwood's Board of Aldermen. My name is Alderman Kramer, sitting in for Mayor Dimmitt, who has a family function this evening. Come on, Alderman Trice. And we have hopefully an efficient meeting for you this evening. And you have your iPads or electronic devices to follow along with our bouncing ball as we move along. Merry Christmas to you all. Happy Hanukkah. Happy holidays to you. Again, this is our last meeting, and the next one will take place the first Monday of January, I believe on the 6th. And we'll look forward to seeing you that time back over at the School Administration Building and the Hanley Industrial Court. With that being said, if you all could please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and we'll get things started.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Madam Deputy City Clerk. If we may have the roll call, please.
Alderman Kramer.
Present.
Alderman Lenny.
Here.
Alderman Locknow.
Here.
Alderwoman O'Neill.
Here.
Alderman Parker Price.
Here.
Alderman Wade.
Here.
Alderman Pluckman, Alderman Sims, and Mayor Finn absent.
If everyone has had a chance to go through the agenda proposed for this evening, please let us know if there are any possible changes or corrections. Otherwise, if we could get a motion to approve the agenda as submitted.
So moved, Your Honor.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. And all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Now's an opportunity for our residents of the City of Brentwood to come forward. If anybody would like to address the board or any members here this evening, now's the time to do it. You've got a few minutes at least to give us your viewpoint, concerns, questions, or compliments. Now's the time.
So, Alderman Kramer?
Yes, ma'am.
So I actually have comments from a resident who isn't here.
Sure.
Would you like me to read it here or go to the
Right
podium?
there's fine.
Okay. So this is from Stuart Clark, who lives at 2331 St. Clair. He was planning to come Monday. He couldn't come tonight, and he wanted me to read this note. He knows that this particular issue is not on the agenda today, but wanted it entered into the record tonight. Sure. This evening I could not attend, so I am sending along this letter. I have been actively involved with the Brentwood-bound Citizens Task Force for the past 2 years. Now that the ground has been broken and we are into the demo and construction phase of this massive project, he wants to remind everyone of the thoughts and comments that the group encountered from local residents during the debate over the then proposed economic sales tax increase. 1. The flooding was known to all residents, but many had never actually witnessed it or were all that inconvenienced by it. 2. Many residents were not aware of the exact location of the flooding that we are mitigating with this project. 3. All residents they spoke with were somewhat familiar with the current trails and parks that we have in Brentwood. However, many did not know the location of Norm-West Park. 4. They were asked often about how and where the new tunnel under Manchester Road would be located. The proposed tunnel location and the connection to the GRG trail system made sense to most residents, and they heard overwhelming support for this approach and location. 5. During their discussions with residents, they often referred to the drawings of the fully developed trails east of Norm-West Park. These images gave potential Brentwood-bound supporters more than just another tax-assisted business development project to fund. It gave residents a beautiful new additional trail system that we could all use and enjoy. He wants to continue to offer the support of his group as he goes through the process of demolition, design, bidding, and construction during the next 3 years and beyond. He wants to continue to help the board to get the word out and get feedback in return. Please keep in mind the expectations of our local residents moving ahead. Specifics like climbing walls, water features, dog parks, shelters may all be up for continued evaluation as our funding sources materialize. Their task force was united in the opinion that residents they spoke with supported the trails pictured. Completing the design, review, and installation of a state-of-the-art 12-month usable walking and biking trail is fulfilling the basic promise of Brentwood bound to the residents who they believe voted in favor of Brentwood bound. So that was, again, on behalf of Stu Clark.
Excellent. Anybody else like to come forward or have any comments? Anybody have any feedback for Resident Clark's comments? If not, we'll move forward. Thanks very much, Alderwoman. The mayor and alderman reports moving forward. Mayor Dimmitt is absent this evening, going to the report for myself from Ward 4. Just want to say from my standpoint how proud I was to be a member of our community yesterday. The groundbreaking ceremony was awesome. It was quite a spectacle as well. And the shovels and the scenery of all of a good part of our community on the actual job site, not far from the Spiritus crane, the demolition set to begin. It was a sight to behold. And I hope that all the residents who weren't able to be there, who maybe are watching this on YouTube, will get a chance to, if they haven't seen it on the news reports, to research. Sure, there'll be many opportunities on the internet to check and see the footage and the words that were spoken yesterday. Alderman Andy Leahy.
Thank you, Your Honor. Public announcement, with the cooperation with the City of Brentwood and the Brentwood Parks Department, we will be hosting our 5th blood drive on Friday, the 24th of January, here at the Rec Center from 2 to 8 p.m. with the American Red Cross. Second announcement, Merry Christmas to all. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Alderman Lockmiller.
No report.
Alderwoman O'Neill.
Yes, a few accolades since this is the end of the year. Some of these come from our ward meeting earlier this week, and one of them also from next door. A lot of times people use Nextdoor to vent their frustration, but if you picked up this week that Nextdoor people were praising the snow removal here in Brentwood, that everyone was most happy to come home and have their street cleared where maybe other adjoining cities didn't, and they wanted to thank everybody from Public Works and did so in glowing terms. Another accolade goes to the decorations we have had, the plants that Karen has done all year, and then changed the planners to holiday settings, which are really nice. Everybody that I have heard that has walked past them has made a comment about it, and we need to tell her that she's used a lot of creativity this year, and it's been a good job. And the last one's a personal thank you. I learned a couple of weeks ago about other jobs that our fire department engages in, such as helping people get to the hospital with keys that are in their car. It never occurred to me that you were sent to the hospital but had no medical records. You needed that sort of thing. So it enlarged my understanding of the scope of activities of our fire department, and everything's appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderwoman O'Neill. Alderman Plufka absent this evening. Alderwoman Sims absent this evening. Alderwoman Tice
No report.
and Alderman Weggie.
No report.
Thank you so much. Moving on to the agenda, we have some items to be considered under our consent agenda, item 6. There are 5 of them. Before we move forward with a reading of those, does anybody have any proposed changes to the consent agenda? Alderman Leahy.
Resolution 1190, may I ask that that be pulled and handled by itself? Please.
Sure.
Thank you.
We can do that. Anybody else? All right, we're going to move 1190 down to new business. And under the consent agenda this evening, we've got the standing committee reports for Public Works, Public Safety, Ways and Means Committee. Also the warrant list for the 2019 expenditures from the 2018 series of certificates of participation proceeds, the COPs. Our warrant list for 2019's operating funds. The minutes from our meeting of November 18th, 2019. And if we could have a motion to consider those, please.
So moved.
Second.
First and a second, this is to consider the passage of the consent agenda. Roll call, please.
Alderman Kramer,
Yes.
Alderman Leahy,
Yes.
Alderman Lockmiller.
Yes.
Alderwoman O'Neill,
Yes.
Alderwoman Parker Tice.
Yes.
And Alderman Weggie.
Yeah.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much. An item that has received significant press in our city, lots of meetings, consideration, discussion, and on to the second reading for our budget topic. This is an important item and also warrants repeating of the message that as we pass this budget, this is the allocation of the monies, but not the spending of the monies. And Mr. City Attorney, if we could please have the second reading of Bill 6268.
Bill number 6268, second reading and consideration for adoption. An ordinance adopting the annual budget for the city of Brentwood for the calendar year 2020 and providing for the effective date of this ordinance.
Motion, Your Honor, to perfect Bill 6268 into ordinance form, please.
Second.
We have a first and a second on the floor. I'll give a brief synopsis here. As we mentioned, the Ways and Means Committee reviewed the proposed 2020 budget on November 25th of this year, recommended placing on our meeting consideration for review and consideration. And the proposed budget, perhaps we could hear from our esteemed city administrator some more of the synopsis, maybe some highlights of what items are prominent, or I could go forward with the synopsis here. The budget is proposed as balanced, sustaining a commitment to a strategic vision that encompasses the 5 value statements and a goal of continued analysis to identify operational effectiveness and efficiency, supports the Brentwood Board of Aldermen's long-standing commitment to fiscal stewardship for a family-friendly environment known as our City of Warmth, a cohesive, pedestrian-friendly, commercial, mixed-use places, a combination that serve the needs of regional and community markets, safe and efficient travel between residences, commerce, community activities, and work, effective, efficient government, preservation and enhancement of public and private spaces, community engagement, consideration always its central components as we conform and combine all the efforts of our community. Feedback came in a variety of ways, including regular and special Board of Aldermen meetings, workshops, ward meetings, neighborhood walks, public outreach. Our city administrator has combined all of these efforts into the proposed budget presented for our feedback discussion, requesting any additional information if available for tonight. Combining 5 funds in our budget are the general fund, the stormwater and park improvements fund, capital improvements fund, sewer lateral improvements fund, and the special revenue fund. In the proposed budget are the department goals and objectives for 2019, our accomplishments, for 2020, our 2019 accomplishments, listing of all the positions and organizational chart for the city. For next year, the department will continue tracking performance measures, providing data demonstrating how well a program or service is accomplished, and developing and maintaining performance measures to be considered a best practice for the municipal governments. Various functions are listed, and there is a conclusion. Does anybody have any questions or input for tonight's discussion of the 2020 budget? All right then. We have a motion and we have a second, and now it's time for roll call, please.
Alderman Kramer?
Yes.
Alderman Legge?
Yes.
Alderman Lockwood?
Yes.
Alderwoman O'Neill?
Yes.
Alderman Parker Tice?
Yes.
Alderman Legge?
Yes.
Motion passes. It becomes bill number 4907.
Excellent. We have a couple items now of new business. One is moved forward from our consent agenda at the request of Alderman Leahy, Resolution 1190, a resolution authorizing the first supplemental memorandum of understanding with the Metropolitan Park and Recreation District, otherwise known as the Great Rivers Greenway District, and the City of Brentwood. Alderman Leahy, if you could, please, sir.
What I'd like to do is request that this board consider. We had a workshop in which we looked at the east-west corridor of adding that trail from what would become the Mary Avenue Trail to get us over to the east end of the city of Brentwood on Hanley Road. I would like to bring to the board's attention 2 opportunities. First opportunity is that the Great River Greenway has an east-west trail on the Webster Grove side of the creek, and that goes over and reaches down to Rocket Park and the shopping center down on the other side of Hanley Road and Maplewood area. If we work with the East-West the Greater River Greenway group to expand our trails, we would have our trail going to the far east end. I'd like to expand that scope to potentially connect that trail to the Webster Groves Trail at the east end so that we could make an inner loop, but also start connecting with other trails. I do not believe in my readings of all of our plans that we focused on making that possible. I'd like the board to consider amending the scope to potentially have that in the works and design phase.
Madam
have
City
a question.
Administrator, do you have any comments about the possibility of that? Or,
I think that that needs to be a separate negotiation point with Great Rivers Greenway and not try to complicate what they've already approved as their board with an amendment to the MOU. They've already approved what's in front of you tonight. So I think that Alderman Leahy will have an opportunity at the January 6th board meeting to make a motion that staff consider expanding the scope. So that would be something separate that we would work and have a discussion with Great Rivers Greenway on, rather than, because they would have to then consider what has already been approved.
May I?
Alderman Lee?
Thank you. In our discussions with Great River Greenway, has this topic even been talked about at this point?
I don't
or
believe
considered?
so, not at all.
Thank you. All right.
Alderman Kramer.
Alderwoman O'Neill.
I have a question for Alderman Leahy. The south side of the creek, the Webster Grove side, is up a cliff?
No. It goes from the Brentwood Boulevard, Marshall Avenue area, down towards what is the old Petrolite area. It
Yes.
goes then northward to the creek and comes up along all those buildings that are back there in the parking lots, and then swings back towards the south to connect with the trails that go to the Rocket Park, and then underneath, God, I'm trying to think, is that Laclede Station? No, Hanley Road. And
Yeah.
then over into the
Okay.
McAllister and Shopping Center area.
And part of that would also be how do we fund it?
Yes,
So,
to work with.
right. I think the board is still having a discussion on how we fund the expanded scope of Northwest Park, talk less of that. But definitely, it could be another workshop conversation, because already the agenda for the January 6th meeting is packed. So, but,
The reason I raise it here is because I'm looking at the potential expenditure for putting in that east-west trail. And it seems senseless to have it go somewhere and just dead end, when we're just yards from, by the way, there's another trail, but again, you gotta cross the creek again to get it back in connection. I think it's well worth having the discussion and at least look at,
right.
how do you make that whole loop work? I think you get better usage off of our east-west trail if people just wanted to do,
We just had a
The
design
circle.
meeting this morning.
okay?
And we have those every other week, so we can definitely also, before the January 6th meeting, we have a meeting before then. So preliminarily, just bring it up and see how the group reacts.
We could try
Craig,
to
do you
meet.
want to say something?
I don't know if by January 6th we can do that.
Well, we
because of
can't.
The 2 weeks of
I
the
thought you were a
holidays and
miracle
everyone's
worker.
gone.
Yep.
At the end of this year, nobody works.
Well, Craig,
But
Tell
we
that
can,
to my
we can
boss.
maybe do some high-level discussion
Okay.
on that.
Yeah.
I can tell you that this agreement will not hold you back from doing that.
Correct.
Yeah.
It was
So-
just, but as an alderman, I cannot say, hey, guys, let's
Sure.
do that. I've got to get a board to say, that seems reasonable,
Okay.
let's try it, or whatever. But I haven't had that discussion.
Great, good fun.
Anybody else? Once again, for clarification, this resolution, Resolution 1190, covers the Great Rivers Greenway District and the City of Brentwood entering into a memorandum of understanding dated June 18th, 2018, and that took place. Now, both parties desire to amend the memorandum of understanding with respect to the future design and construction, and all the details contained within resolution number 1190. We have a motion to consider that as presented.
Yes. That you
Do we have a motion and a second?
Second?
We have a motion and a second to consider that resolution, which I don't believe contains any spending of funds, so
No.
all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion to
Roll call?
go forward with that resolution is carried. Yeah, is that okay?
Who was the first and second?
Alderman Leahy?
Thank you.
We move on to our second item of new business. This is Bill number 6273. Mr. City Attorney, if we could have the first reading, please.
Bill number 6273, first reading, an ordinance of the City of Brentwood, Missouri, approving a certain real estate contract with Executive Associates Limited Liability Company for the exchange of certain real property interests, authorizing certain other actions in connection therewith, providing for the effective date of this ordinance and containing a severability clause.
Madam City Administrator, may we have a synopsis?
In connection with the Brentwood Bound project, including flood mitigation, activities for Deer Creek, the City of Brentwood, Missouri has determined it is necessary and desirable to obtain a portion of the real property owned by Executive Associates Limited Liability Company at 8736 through 8762 Brentshire Walk, including a release of any rights to use Mary Avenue.
We are doing first and second tonight on
Right.
this one. And Mr. City Attorney, if we could have the second reading, please, of Bill 6273.
Bill number 6273, second reading and consideration for adoption. An ordinance of the City of Brentwood, Missouri, approving a certain real estate contract with Executive Associates Limited Liability Company for the exchange of certain real property interests, authorizing certain other actions in connection therewith, providing for the effective date of this ordinance, and containing a severability clause.
Thank you, sir. And a motion to perfect?
motion to perfect Bill 6273 into ordinance form.
Second.
And we have a motion and a second. Now, does anybody have any questions, discussion, conversation regarding this bill? If not, we are ready to move forward with roll call, please.
Alderman Kramer?
Yes.
Alderman Leahy?
Yes.
Alderman Lockmiller?
Yes.
Alderwoman O'Neill?
Yes.
Alderman Parker Price?
Yes.
Alderman Wade?
Yes.
Motion passes. Comes bill number 4908.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mayor Dimmitt would be proud. We are moving through this agenda in expedient fashion. And I know he kind of planned it this way. I appreciate his efforts. I was told earlier today he was going to ask the city administrator to make sure our agenda was low-key, and it is. And now it's time for citizen comments. Ladies and gentlemen, here's your second opportunity of the evening to come forward and let us know if you have anything on your mind, questions, concerns, or compliments. Now's the opportunity.
Your Honor, I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Motion, and
Second.
all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
This meeting is adjourned. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.